Sony has a huge disaster on its hands, and that disaster is called Madam Web. Over the quote-unquote 6-day weekend that this movie opened up to, it only made $51 million worldwide. Now, this movie has a production budget of only $80 million, but allegedly they've spent somewhere upwards of $100 million on their marketing budget, which has overly inflated the price of this movie. Which means that if we use the ×3 formula, this movie roughly needs to make around $300 million just to break even, and at this point, I'm pretty sure it's going to struggle to break $100 million worldwide at this point. But there seems to be other ramifications from the massive failure of this movie. Coming from the Ankler, Silk Spider Society's writer room paused at Amazon. Now, if you're not familiar with the character of Silk, also known as Cindy Moon, she was created by Spider-Man writer Dan Slott, who ruined Spider-Man for a good 10 years, because Dan Slott is an awful human being. This was also created to tie into the original Sin story arc that was going on in the comic books. Dan Slott also has a nasty habit of being more interested in the actual villains of the story rather than the hero, because the man pretty much is one himself. And towards the end of the 10-year run on Spider-Man, Dan Slott actually killed off Peter Parker and had Otto Octavius possess his body. Like I said, he was far more interested in the villain than he actually was the superhero. It was a garbage tier run. Cindy Moon is a Korean American, and she was bitten by the exact same spider that Peter Parker was bitten by. Why? Because entertainment has lost all originality, and that, on top of that, Dan Slott is just a total garbage tier writer. But the main thing that needs to be pointed out here is that Silk Spider Society is another Spider-Man series that doesn't have Spider-Man in it, because in order for them to be able to use the character, they have to make a deal with Disney, and that's simply just not going to happen. Now, initially, it was reported that the writer's room was shit-canned, but they added a clarification saying we've updated the story below to reflect that the Silk writer room has been paused, according to sources close to the studio, though the show remains in active development. An earlier version said that the room had been scrapped. In the meantime, many writers and staffers on the series have been released to pursue other works. However, the irony of the statement is the fact that these writers have been released to pursue other works. It sure sounds like it's been scrapped to me. The hotly anticipated Silk Spider Society. If this show is so hotly anticipated as the article points out, why am I just finding out about it when the show is actually just getting paused? The hotly anticipated Silk Spider Society has paused its writer's room, releasing writers to pursue new works, minus its showrunner, which, if I'm being honest, and I am, should have been shit-canned as well. Even as the show remains in active development, sources close to the show tell the Ankler. Deadline had previously reported that the Silk writer's room was set to reconvene in mid to late January. The Ankler learned that the show had been back only a few weeks before writers and their reps were informed of the pause this past week. Now, it could be coincidence that this is happening right around the same time that we're finding out that Madam Web is just a huge, massive bomb, and this really could purely be speculation, or it could be related. Who's to say? I guess only time will tell. A source close to the studio says that Angela Kang, who has a multi-year overall deal with Amazon, will continue to act as showrunner for the series that centers on Korean-American heroine Cindy Moon, who, according to the report of the logline, is bitten by the same spider that bit Peter Parker and goes searching for her missing family. Now, if you don't know who Angela Kang is, she became executive producer of The Walking Dead back in 2018, overseeing the final 4 seasons. And she's also responsible for making the show go woke, emphasizing more of the female characters in the series rather than the male ones. And that's pretty much when I dipped out of the show. And the fact that she is the showrunner and wasn't shit-canned with the rest of the writers doesn't exactly give me hope for the Silk series. It seems like it's probably going to be more of the same crap that we've been seeing. One source close to the series claims that Silk was being refocused with a more male-skewing audience in mind. What? You mean to tell me that the primary audience for superheroes is a bunch of male chuds? I'm literally shaking. But as we find out time and time again, yes, men are the primary audience for superheroes. It doesn't mean that women don't appreciate them and don't like them as well, but the majority of the people who show up are going to be dudes, and you need to cater to that audience. All you have to do is look at Barbie and see how successful that was, and that catered to women, and it made a lot of money. The issue here is that when you take a predominantly male franchise and try to make it more geared towards women is when you're going to fail big time. And to illustrate my point, all you have to do is just take a look at Madam Web as well as the Marvels and see how poorly those movies have done. And let me tell you, if you want to have a female-led superhero movie, it's really easy to do. Step 1, come up with a really good story. Step 2, take a really hot actress and pour her into a skin-tight outfit and maybe have her shake her ass a little bit. And let me tell you, you will print money. You will print money, Marvel. That's all you have to do. But the issue is when you have showrunners like Angela Kang in charge of your series, you're probably going to get a lot more woke messaging like what we saw with The Walking Dead. And your series is going to be doomed to failure because it's not going to appeal to dudes. Anyway, folks, that is my take. What is yours? Make sure to leave a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are. On top of that, if you're new to the channel, make sure to go and hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed the video, click that like button and check out the next video that's coming up right about now. I'll catch you next time, folks.